Welcome. We're going to take a quick look at inventory details. That's a new addition to DAnalyzer version 4. We had a lot of requests to add inventory into the modules, and you'll see a couple of examples that I'm going to go through as to why it's very, very useful. It's a little different than some of the other modules like sales analysis or purchase orders or sales orders, in that you're now looking directly at inventory, not transactionally, but at the inventory records themselves. I'll just click refresh, and you'll notice that there's no criterion here to refresh either. You're basically loading up your inventory file, and that basically brings in your part numbers in whatever default order you'd like them in, and you can of course change those orders. You can sort alphabetically, you can sort by product category, by code, whatever it is that you're after, and you can also include any of quite a number of fields. Here, for example, if I go into the column chooser, you can see there's a very large number of columns that are available for you to use in this report. Everything from quantity breaks to selling price levels, year-to-date sales. We do some nice things in the inventory browse though, or in the inventory details module, in that we give you totals as well as unit sales by year and so on. So many fields for you to work with. Pretty much anything that you have access to in inventory you have access to here. Our default, as you can see here, has a warehouse part number, a description, product category information. We brought in the current cost and the current sell price list number 1, as well as on-hand information and year-to-date sales and so on. Very flexible. I've built some layouts quickly here. I'll show you. Here's one where I'm focusing specifically on last year, this year unit sales, and that basically takes out a lot of the clutter and shows me specifically last year versus this year unit sales. And that might be useful. You might want to scan down here and say, okay, I'm halfway through the year, how are my sales relative to last year's sales, strictly based on unit. And of course you can print this at any point, sort from ascending to descending and so on, or even apply filters if you want. Very easy to create these reports. Here's a nice one. What I've done here is taken those items that are modified, and I've sorted based on modification date. You might ask, why would you ever do that? Sometimes it's useful for you to simply know those items that have been received on purchase orders or sold today or over some period of time. So here I can scan down that list to the least active items, if you like. Here are items which may or may not have on-hand quantities but haven't been active. They haven't been sold or purchased or modified in any other way. We've had lots of requests for that kind of report in the past. Price check type of things are also very useful. Here what I've done is created a layout that shows me prices. So here I'm looking at the items, how much it cost, and then the sell price level values. So here I can scroll up and see, oh okay, there are items here that I should really establish sell prices for, since I don't have proper sell prices in all the different lists. One request that we had, I'm just going to minimize this so we can see it a little easier, is to be able to check for whether or not UPC codes have been provided against part numbers. One of the things that DAnalyzer is very good at, and it applies specifically to inventory, is looking for missing values. Give me items that don't have product categories assigned, that don't have UPC codes assigned, that don't have sell price levels, or in fact have sell price levels that don't make sense relative to other sell price levels or the cost of the goods. Required quantity order report is a very useful one. There are a number of fields within the inventory reports that we've added that are very useful. Here's a quick one. We've created a report that shows us on-hand, committed, back-ordered, on-ordered, reorder point, and minimum buy quantity, and we've calculated a field called required quantity. This has been a request from customers for years. Basically what this does is determines, based on what you have on hand, taking into account your committed and back orders as well as what you've got on purchase orders and what you said your minimum reorder point is going to be in your minimum buy quantity, we calculate this value for you. This actually happens to be one of the most useful fields in all of inventory because it gives you a very quick view of those items that you should be paying attention to. You need to reorder to fill back orders, you need to reorder because your reorder point is high and you need to stock to that level. And we also provided on this report unit sales and this year's sales, I should say this year's sales and this year's unit sales, in order for you to use that information to determine if you might want to buy more or less, or modify that required quantity in some way. Very useful field. Here's an example. I'm just going to select this as returnable items of the kind of thing you can create on your own. And this takes full advantage of filtering. What I've done here is I've created a report that shows only those items that I'm allowed to return, because I might want to return inventory back to a vendor. But I've also filtered this to try and take into account that I only want to return items under certain circumstances. So here I'm saying I want only those items that I can return, but I want their on-hand to be greater than 0, otherwise there wouldn't be anything to return. And I want the on-hand to be greater than or equal to the reorder point, because I don't want to return items if they're just to stock to a reorder point level. But I also want to make sure that the back-ordered and committed quantities are 0, because I don't want to return items where there are orders that have yet to be filled for them. So again, very, very useful. This is not a report necessarily that we create for you, it's a report that you can create. And of course your rules might be entirely different than these. You might want to just focus on those items where on hand is greater than a certain quantity, and then go to your vendors to see if they'll accept returns. And of course adding fields to these reports is really easy. If I decide that I also want to see information here, I can say, okay, well, I'm interested in the vendor details or vendor name for these part numbers, if in fact there's vendors. In this case we haven't assigned vendors, we buy them from a specific vendor. So again, very, very easy to modify these reports. The simplest types of reports are sometimes the most useful. Here's top sellers by product category and dollar amount. So what we've done here is we've grouped here and we're showing the top sellers within each product category. So if I scroll down to one of my busier categories for speakers, I've sorted to say I'm interested in from top sellers down. So what are the top selling items, what are their unit sales, and of course it's often useful to know, my least performing items. I haven't sold many of these, however I have quite a few on hand. So that might be a concern, or it might not, depending on the item. Here for example, the items are fairly expensive. I have a fair number on hand, but my unit sales may not justify that. Again, how you look at inventory and how you control inventory is up to you. The tools are here and they're very useful in a wide variety of circumstances. And of course, year-to-date unit and dollar sales reports are very useful as well. So again, here I've moved in relevant fields, but what I'm primarily interested in here is year-to-date dollar sales and year-to-date unit sales, so that I can compare that to how much I might have on hand. Oftentimes this is a concern and helps you when you can see, okay, I've got my year-to-date unit sales are 602, I've got nearly double that on hand. Is that appropriate? Should I be thinking about returning items, putting the items on sale? These are all things that you can very quickly and easily get to with a product like DAnalyzer, as opposed to going and printing reports and sifting through to find this information. Again, all the tools available to you in DAnalyzer are available in inventory: filtering, column grouping, subtotaling, totaling, printing, exporting. All those things can be done directly from within inventory, and it makes inventory maintenance and inventory management much, much easier.